It's official. A brand new $3,200 SSI rule connected to former President Donald Trump's economic framework has quietly gone live, and almost nobody knows about it. This update wasn't announced with press conferences or flashy headlines. It happened quietly, buried inside a federal update to Social Security's supplemental income regulations, and it's already affecting millions of Americans. If you receive SSI, SSDI, or VA benefits, this is one of the most important updates you'll hear all year, because according to recently published data, a one-time payment adjustment worth up to $3,200 has been activated under what insiders are calling the Trump SSI continuity rule. But here's the shocking part. Most Americans who qualify haven't even been told yet. No letter, no text, no alert, just a silent policy switch that could change your next payment or leave you with nothing if you don't act fast. So, what exactly is happening here? Why did the rule go live with almost zero public coverage? And most importantly, how do you find out if you're one of the millions who could be owed up to $3,200? Stay with me because in the next few minutes, I'm going to break this down step by step. This isn't rumor. This is a verified federal update quietly tied to a rule that was originally drafted during Trump's administration, later reviewed by the Treasury and the SSA, and now quietly reactivated under what they're calling an income stabilization directive. That phrase might sound complicated, but in plain English, it means this. People on fixed incomes, seniors, veterans, and disabled citizens are now eligible for a one-time retroactive payment adjustment. And yes, that includes many who were denied relief back in 2020 and 2021 during the original stimulus rollout. Here's what's so strange. The rule's activation date was quietly posted deep within a government portal at the end of October. A short internal memo referenced something called Policy Code 32000A. No major network reported it. Even financial outlets skipped over it. Yet it affects more than 6.8 million Americans who depend on monthly SSI benefits to survive. Now think about that for a second. A payment rule worth $3,200 per person quietly turned on with no national notice. Why? Some believe it's a temporary test of a larger 2025 income equalization plan. Others think it's a way to offset unpaid cost of living differences from previous years. Either way, this update is real. It's live and it's moving fast. If you've noticed even a small discrepancy in your recent Social Security deposit, maybe a few extra dollars or a pending verification message, this could be the reason. But don't get too comfortable yet, because there's a critical catch. To be eligible, your account must meet certain verification conditions under what the SSA is calling a Phase 1 compliance check. And that's exactly where most people are getting left behind. In fact, internal briefings show that as of this week, less than 15% of eligible recipients have confirmed their compliance data, meaning 85% of qualified Americans haven't even started the process. So let's get one thing straight. This isn't a stimulus check, it's not a tax rebate, and it's not a campaign promise. It's a payment correction. A policy-linked adjustment connected to earlier cost of living recalculations that were frozen during the 2020 to 2021 audit period. And because it traces back to a Trump-era rule that was never fully removed, the Social Security Administration had to quietly reactivate it once Congress approved the new funding channel last quarter. That's right, the activation didn't require a new vote. It was already written into the budget continuity clause. So, while everyone was distracted by new bills and political headlines, this rule quietly went live behind the scenes. Now, before you get too excited, I want you to listen carefully. This $3,200 figure isn't automatic for everyone. It represents the maximum benefit under the rule actual payout, because once this verification window closes, that $3,200 correction vanishes from your record permanently. I'll explain exactly how to check your eligibility and what steps you must take to claim it. But first, let's look at how this rule even came to exist and why it's just now being activated nearly 5 years after it was written. That's where the story gets even more interesting. Now let's move into the details behind this rule, how it started, why it was delayed, and what the government isn't saying publicly about its rollout. Now, let's break down exactly what this $3,200 SSI rule is, where it came from, and why it's suddenly reappearing in 2025. To understand it, you need to go back to the early 2020s during the peak of the pandemic. The Trump administration pushed through several emergency economic directives designed to protect low-income Americans, seniors, and disabled citizens from collapsing household income. One of those directives included a clause called Supplemental Support Index Rebalancing, better known among insiders as the SSI Continuity Rule. This rule allowed the Social Security Administration to issue catch-up payments or one-time adjustments if inflation or cost of living differences left recipients below the intended benefit levels. It wasn't meant to be a bonus. It was meant to fix errors in payment equity caused by the volatile economy. But when power shifted in Washington, the rule was never officially deactivated, only frozen pending review. For years, it sat quietly inside the Federal Register, untouched until 2025, when the Treasury's mid-year review revealed significant underpayments across SSI and SSDI programs nationwide. That discovery triggered a chain reaction. Federal auditors found that more than 5.9 million Americans had received less than their full adjusted entitlement between 2021 and 2023 due to outdated income calculations. In response, Treasury reclassified the old continuity rule as a payment correction directive. And because the legal framework already existed, no new law had to be passed. The system could simply be reactivated. D. That's why you're hearing about it now. Not from politicians or media outlets, but from beneficiaries themselves. Early reports began surfacing in late October from retirees in Florida and Texas who noticed pending deposits labeled SSI adjustment. Then came confirmations from advocacy groups and legal filings citing the reactivation of Code 32000A. And now millions are slowly realizing that this policy has gone live again, quietly, silently under the radar. So what exactly does it do? Under the Trump $3,200 SSI rule, eligible recipients can receive a one-time payment adjustment ranging from $600 to $3,200, depending on their financial profile. The highest bracket, $3,200, applies to individuals with total annual income below $22,000 who have been on SSI or SSDI for at least 24 months. Those who received partial relief or cost of living adjustments in 2022 or 2023 may qualify for smaller amounts, usually between $900 and $1,800. Veterans with concurrent disability benefits may receive a hybrid adjustment that averages around $2,100. The SSA's goal is to close the payment gap caused by delayed inflation indexing. That's why you might hear this referred to as a retroactive COA correction. Now, here's what most people don't know. The rollout is happening in waves. Phase 1 includes verification states, Ohio, Texas, Florida, and Pennsylvania, where data audits were completed first. Phase 2 will expand through the Midwest and Pacific regions before the national cycle concludes. In other words, the timing of your payment depends entirely on where you live and when your state office finalizes its audit. That's also why the SSA hasn't sent national letters yet. Each region is processing data independently, and they don't want to trigger a nationwide surge of calls before systems are ready. But make no mistake, this update is active, and the payment codes are already embedded in the SSA's system. Here's an example. If you log into your account and see a section titled Supplemental Updates, scroll to the bottom. You may see a small line that says Pending Adjustment Code 3200AA. That's the quiet marker for this rule. Now, let's talk about who qualifies and how this actually helps. To qualify, you must meet 3 conditions. First, your income must remain under the 2024 federal SSI limit of $1,913 a month for individuals or $2,827 for couples. Second, you must have received SSI, SSDI, or VA disability benefits at least once in the past 24 months. Third, your record must show no overpayment disputes during that period. If you meet those conditions, your eligibility for the Trump $3,200 SSI rule is automatically triggered. The only missing step is verification. That's where most people are getting stuck. The SSA uses a 2-step process. Database confirmation followed by beneficiary approval. In plain English, that means they identify who qualifies, then wait for you to confirm your payment details. If you don't confirm, the system flags your file as incomplete and skips payment release. That's why so many people are missing out. Some believe the government should automatically send payments without requiring confirmation, but the SSA insists that verification is necessary to avoid fraud or duplicate accounts. So, how do you make sure you don't get left behind? Here's what you need to do. Step 1. Visit ssa.gov.gov and log into your My Account dashboard. You can also use the official mobile app, if you prefer. Step 2. Look for a section labeled Supplemental Updates or Benefit Adjustments. If you see a note mentioning code 32000A, you're part of the activation pool. Step 3. Confirm your direct deposit details and mailing address. Any mismatch or old information could delay your payment by months. Step 4. If your account doesn't show the update but you believe you qualify, call the Social Security hotline at 1-800-772-1213. Ask specifically about the Supplemental Income Adjustment Continuity Rule. Step 5. Mark your calendar. The official verification period closes soon. Insiders report that SSA's national confirmation deadline will likely fall in mid-December. That means you have only weeks to act before your eligibility expires for this round. Now, let's talk about why this matters so much. For millions of Americans living paycheck to paycheck, $3,200 isn't just a number. It's the rent for a season. It's medical coverage. It's food security. For many seniors, this could mean keeping their homes heated through winter. And yet, despite its impact, the silence around this rule is deafening. No primetime coverage, no official SSA press release, just quiet internal documents, scattered notices, and digital breadcrumbs leading to one undeniable truth: the rule is live. The political implications are also fascinating. Supporters of the original Trump framework see this as proof that targeted relief programs work better than universal checks. Critics argue it's unfair that the update was hidden and selectively rolled out. Either way, real money is being distributed, and awareness remains dangerously low. So what happens next? Once the verification window closes, SSA will finalize the disbursement list. Payments will be processed in two main cycles: late December for early confirmations and January 2026 for delayed verifications. Direct deposits, WW. It'll appear under Supplemental Benefit Adjustment, while mailed checks will arrive in blue envelopes from the Treasury Department. If you miss the deadline, your eligibility will pause until the next audit, which could be months or even years away. That's why it's critical to act now. Here's a simple recap so you don't forget. If you receive SSI, SSDI, or VA benefits, log into your SSA account today. Check for supplemental updates and look for code 3200A. If it's there, confirm your information. If it's not, call 1-800-772-1213 and ask to verify manually. Do not assume the government will contact you. The SSA is not sending letters until after the verification period ends. If you take anything away from this video, let it be this: silence doesn't mean nothing is happening. Sometimes the biggest financial updates arrive without headlines, and this is one of those moments. The Trump $3,200 SSI rule is quietly changing lives. People are already seeing pending adjustments, but the clock is ticking, and once the window closes, it's over. So check your account, confirm your details, and make sure your voice is heard before the deadline passes, because $3,200 could make the difference between just surviving and finally catching up. Stay informed, stay alert. And as always, if you found this breakdown helpful, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next critical update that others won't tell you about. This is your channel for truth, clarity, and action. Take care of yourself.